What's going on, everybody? This is Pro Wrestling Wire Radio, part of ProWrestlingWire.net. You can check us out on the AIWF network and, of course, HelixRockRadio.live each and every Wednesday, 9 p.m. to 11. This is Rick Del Santo. Right now, I'm sitting down with Cody Bowers from Pro Wrestling Mid-South. What's going on?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Now, you're quite a few states away from it, all the way down south, and I'm all the way up here in the Northeast. So we're going to talk about a lot of professional wrestling. Let's talk about what you do in the professional wrestling world. And I understand you're starting your own podcast as well.
May 6th of 2014, my 16th birthday, actually. I started with RCW Pro Wrestling. It was a company in Ripley, Tennessee. But there wasn't ever a time that I don't remember sitting on my grandfather's knee or, sitting on the floor or watching a wrestling event or anything like that. My grandfather actually used to take my mother and uncles and aunts and stuff like that to the Mid-South Coliseum and the Pyramid in Memphis and stuff like that. But sadly, whenever I was 14, I had a back injury, and I'm 6'3", 350 pounds, and there's not a lot of jobs in professional wrestling for guys my size besides wrestling, and my back just would not let me do it. So I talked to the promoter. I said, hey, I can't wrestle, but I said I'm willing to do whatever you need me to do. So first couple of weeks I started going out selling discounted tickets, and then he was like, hey, I'm having to run locker room, having to do audio, having to announce. Can you come on back to the back and do audio for me? And then after so long, he was like, hey, can you announce from back here? So I become a backstage ring announcer and audio technician.
What was your first reaction to that?
Been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, what was your first reaction to do that, to backstage and start announcing and such?
Surreal.
Yeah.
It's very surreal being able to actually be a part of something I've watched since I was a kid. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, you didn't start out wrestling, but that wasn't matter to me. I was a part of the show somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of similar to myself in a way. The funny part is, I didn't get involved until I was about 44 years old. I'm now just turned 49. So for roughly about 6 years, I've been involved. I started, rewind a little bit before that. I started podcasting because I did have a slight career in radio, mostly public radio and stuff like that. And I wanted to get back into it again. And then I said, forget it, and start a wrestling podcast. And then just so happened I went to my first indie show in many, many years, and that struck up the bug to start a wrestling podcast. So, and then one day I got asked by some local guys to do commentary on their show, and I've been doing it ever since. So it's been about 4 years doing that now. So.
Oh yeah. I just about 2 or 3 years ago, I just recently started up. We have an event. It's about 35 minute drive from here, but it's in Tiptonville, Tennessee. It's called the Real Foot Arts and Crafts Festival, and a couple of our guys that work for us in Pro Wrestling Mid-South, they're hometown boys of Tiptonville, and they were telling me hey, we get about 10 to 20,000 people to this one event. It's a 3-day event, and I was like, maybe we can get something started. So about 2 years ago, I started this event. It's Quake at the Lake. It's a annual wrestling event once a year. It brings in a lot of people. It's a pretty good deal. So I recently started doing, do that once a year, promoting, booking, stuff like that. I also have my co-booker, who is also my co-host for the up-and-coming podcast. His name is Blaze Ray. That's the first time I was going to kind of keep him a surprise, but I have a feeling this will get out to a lot of people. But yeah. I have a co-host for the Mid-South Wrestling Center podcast. His name is Blaze Ray. He's been in the business. He's been wrestling in the business almost 15 years. Maybe not 15, maybe about 12. Between 12 and 15, I'd say about that. He's traveled around. His brother is our current or former unified heavyweight champion, Brandon Ray. Yeah, it's surreal. The things that the people I've got to meet, and the things I've got to do in the business so far.
Yeah. Uh, what is so special about it? I mean, I've made some of the best friends that I've ever made in life through the world of professional wrestling over the last like 7 or so years. I think
Hmm.
it's kind of that's what's professional wrestling. That's like there's never a day without professional wrestling in my life, one day or another.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
For the 10.5 years I've been in the business, there's not a single day, not even as probably if even a single second or minute, that something with professional wrestling doesn't show up in my life.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a text message in the morning, a phone call,
Oh yeah,
hey, what are you doing this weekend? And then, even though there's so many times where I say, hey, I got a weekend free, I'm going to hang out, and then do absolutely nothing but sit on my couch, and somehow I find myself at a wrestling show somewhere. you know.
oh yeah, yeah. I've been kind of tied down with Pro Wrestling Mid South stuff here, especially lately, because I just recently become the branch manager of our
Okay.
Ripley district. It's our Friday night show. We do 2 shows a week. It's Friday night in Ripley, Saturday night in Dyersburg. We recently just got done with our Thanksgiving Throwdown weekend. That's a 3-day event. We do it Thanksgiving night, our regular Friday show, and then our regular Saturday show.
So, why don't you tell the people a little bit about Pro Wrestling Mid South? Now, I've had Greg Anthony on the show a year ago, and I need to reach out to him again because I want to have him back on the show
Yeah,
sometime soon. He is the head of Pro Wrestling Mid South as well as the AIWF World Champion, correct?
he is. He is. So after RCW Pro Wrestling, the booker owner of RCW Pro Wrestling, his name was Rashard Devon. He worked for Corey Macklin's Memphis Wrestling TV show for a while as a referee and referee and manager.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he lost his either mother or sister at the beginning of the week. Then he lost his mother or sister at the end of the week as well.
Jeez.
So his mindset for the professional wrestling business after losing 2 people in a week's time, just kind of, he didn't want to do it no more. He was pretty much done. He was just wanting to mourn pretty much, and I understood that. Well, we went out of business. I traveled around with another gentleman that I met in the business. His name's Coco Anderson. He ran a show for a while. I traveled around with him doing audio for him, stuff like that. Commentated at one of his shows. Well, word got around that somebody's taking over the building that RCW Pro Wrestling was being in. No, the building that we're in now in Ripley, it's had wrestling in it since like '08, '07.
Okay. Okay.
It's had a few companies that go through there, but I found out who did it, who was doing it, Greg Anthony. And the first month, I showed up, paid a ticket, sat in the audience, started talking to who I didn't know at the time was his wife, because she runs the house. She runs concessions, she runs the front door, stuff like that. And I started cutting up a conversation with her, telling her, hey, I used to work for RCW Pro Wrestling, stuff like that. I'd really like to come and work for you guys. I do audio, stuff like that. Well, after about a month of doing that and stuff like that, Greg Anthony messaged me. He said, hey, can you come fix this speaker we've been having a problem with? And then I fixed it, and then off I went. Here we are 8 years later, and I'm still going strong with Pro Wrestling Mid-South.
That's pretty awesome. I actually have. Now, obviously, I don't live close enough to you to witness to be in attendance of a show, but I've watched them
Yeah.
online. I know you guys stream them through a subscription service through Facebook. That's still in
Yeah.
existence, correct? Yeah.
Yes,
It's
it is.
relatively new. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's new. It's new. We just started it 2 months ago. We
Yeah.
do it it's like $9.99 a month. You get the entirety of the Saturday night shows,
Hmm.
and it kind of breaks down of like $9.99 a month. It's like $5 a week, but if you're out and about or if you're like you can't make it to a live show, $9.99 a month, you're getting 4 shows in 1 month cheaper than what you would live.
One of the things that I've noticed about Pro Wrestling Mid-South is that you guys have very family-friendly ticket prices. I see the ticket prices online. So if I'm ever in the area, I'd love to. But you guys have, I think it's at one of your venues, I think you have $5 tickets and then $10 tickets, I believe, as well.
So regular shows, our regular Friday and Saturday night shows, yes, it's $5 for both shows. But, we have our annual big shows, our once a year shows. Like our Thanksgiving Throwdown is one of our big shows that we just had on Saturday. So it was, fixed prices because it was one of those things where, but yeah, it was general admission, $8, front row tickets are $10.
Okay. You can't go wrong bringing a whole family. For what, $30, $40?
Okay.
That's a great price. A lot of places you can get that to go into a lot of the major shows these days. Even a lot of indie shows these days are charging, $20, $30 tickets.
Yeah, whenever I first started in the business with RCW Pro Wrestling, we were actually charging, it was so out there. And I kept telling Rashard, I was like, listen, man, we got to get these. Why don't you just do $5? And I can't remember what he said, what his excuse was, but it was like $7 and some change. And it wasn't even like, $7 and maybe a quarter or 2 quarters, 3 quarters. It was just out there. And I'm like, this is Ripley. Because I lived in Ripley all my life. I know how the people of Ripley are. I said, just lower the prices to $5. And I don't know what his mindset was, but it was, I love him to death, but yeah, I don't know.
It sounds like an oddball price, but yeah. So what's it like down there? And you live in a very wrestling rich history area in Tennessee. And you were mentioning the Mid-South Coliseum, which I've never had the opportunity to go to before, but I have a whole DVD collection up in my living room that's got matches from the DVD from the Mid-South Coliseum, and it's one of the most world famous professional wrestling arenas.
Yeah. Well, with I just kind of give you a backstory on the podcast thing. The reason why I got into a podcast is because I went on somebody else's podcast. His name is Buster H.R. Johnson. He does a lot of Mid-South area coverage, and he covered us for our Quake at the Lake 2 event this year. And I mentioned on him, Memphis is a very wrestling-rich history, but I don't quite think that people understand how big of a wrestling-rich history Dyersburg, Tennessee has. Because we've had Herb Welch, which is legendary trainer. Yep. He trained David Schultz, Dr. D. David Schultz. And quite a few other people. And, it was all here in Dyersburg. And I think that's kind of what the concept of what Greg Anthony was wanting to pick back up on, creating NWA Mid-South, Pro Wrestling Mid-South, was Dyersburg is a wrestling-rich town. Yeah.
I actually have a book on Herb Welch. I got to find it. I don't have it around here, but if I find it, it's like a small pamphlet-sized book. But what I do, I'll snap a picture and then send it to you. So,
it's Herb Welch, How to Be a Champion.
That's the book. Yeah. I bought that. I bought that on Amazon. It's quite the interesting little book. So.
Yeah.
Tell me about, so you joined back, you said off air that it was the last year and a half of the being part of the National Wrestling Alliance. What was it like for you when Billy bought the NWA and then closed up all the territories and basically became a singular brand?
One word, stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah. I thought there was a lot of potential there to utilize it, I believe.
Well, I think me and you talked about this on Facebook Messenger before this, but whenever it was NWA Mid-South, we got to see a lot of great talent, a lot of TV talent and stuff like that come through there. And then that happened. It was like, well, now that, we're no longer in NWA, all these guys was like, well, I don't want to really, mess with y'all anymore. You ain't got that NW thing. So it really hurt at first, Pro Wrestling Mid-South. But now, since it's been so long, we've triumphant a lot. But it's 2024. Billy Corgan has owned NWA. I can't remember how many years ago.
I think it was 2017, I believe, is when he purchased it.
Yeah, something like that.
I think he held his first actual event in 2018. I might be off on the timeline, but I think I'm pretty kind of accurate. So.
Yeah, I'd say something like that. But so he pretty much my adaptation of the current NWA, Billy Corgan's NWA, is it's as old saying goes, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a new school wrestling company trying to dress up as old school wrestling.
Yeah. I think that I enjoyed it for quite some time, I guess, after he bought it.
Yeah.
Up until probably the second or third season of the television when they put out Power, and then when the pandemic came and closed down everything, that might have been the second season, and then they tried to come back, and just things were not the same. It just it was just I went to the 76th anniversary show this past August, and I had a less than great time, I'll tell you that much. But I had a great time hanging around with my son, more so around the city than I did, doing stuff, watching the actual event.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that the NWA has done in the last just couple years that I just absolutely do not agree with, especially one here most recently.
Yeah.
And that would be the Family Jewels ladder match. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I believe that was on, last week or the week before on TV, maybe?
I believe so.
Something. Yeah. I don't understand what their deal is, because it's like they had, this will get back to that, but they keep losing their television. Like, they were on YouTube, then they went to Fight, and I don't think anybody was really purchasing that Fight subscription. So when everybody's expired, they decided to go back to YouTube. Then the CW deal, which would they only sign for 8 months or something? I don't know. Which I thought was awkward, that all of a sudden, after 8 months, they were on Twitter. How are you going to get a wrestling audience on Twitter? But I think it's stuff like what you just mentioned, that match. Nobody wants to deal with them.
So you said TV deals for the NWA, and one really, really pops up, and it was here recently. I think it was this year. And me and Greg Anthony, we talk all the time about stuff like this, because I always ask Greg. He's pretty much a wrestling library built into a human.
Oh, absolutely.
I will say that. Yeah, he's the biggest wrestling historian I've ever met. And it was the Father James Mitchell cocaine spot.
I watched that right on TV as that was happening. Yeah. And I was just so annoyed. I said, what the bleep is this? Yeah.
Yeah, could have been the biggest thing for NWA to get on a huge TV network. And then they show Father James Mitchell around a poker table with a bunch, which is like strippers, and he's doing cocaine off the table. Are you kidding me?
That they suffered a little bit for that. I mean, well, no, I wouldn't say a little bit, but a lot of people were talking very negative about them for quite some time after that had happened. And like I said, I don't think anybody really wanted to deal with them after that. I think they lost a lot of fans during that time period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they're all terrible.
No, I have friends that work there, so I'm not going to, good for them. They're getting a payday and, getting to travel around the whole country because of that, or around the world, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a close friend that works there. I met in RCW Pro Wrestling. He's doing great. He's in a tag team up there with NWA right now, and I absolutely love him to death. It's um, I met him. Like I said, I met him in RCW Pro Wrestling. It's the Red Dog Rodney Mack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anytime we book him in Pro Wrestling Mid South. Oh yeah, big legend, WWE legend. I met him RCW Pro Wrestling quite a few years back. He come in, worked for us a couple nights with Jazz. He brought in Jazz one night. I got to meet her, sweetheart of a person. He was sitting in the back, and Richard walked up to me and said, "Hey," he said, "we got a Domino's pizza right down the road." And he's like, "Hey, Rodney's hungry. Why don't you go down, run down to Domino's and get him a pizza or something," and like stuff like that. So ran down, got him a large pizza and a 2-liter, and I handed it to him, and stuff like that. He sat down next to me. He goes, "You want any of this?" I go, "Nah, bud. That's all you." And he ate that whole pizza down, that whole 2-liter right there. And still to this day, anytime we bring him in, or Professor P, who was his manager at the time, anytime we bring Professor P in, that's the only story that he talks about. And like I said, love Rodney to death. Sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah. Who do you think, where you are at Pro Wrestling Mid-South, who sticks out to you? You got a lot of great talent down there. Of course, like I said, Greg Anthony, who's been around for quite some time. I didn't realize until I interviewed him quite the history that he had in professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah. I think 25 years? Going up on 25 years? Something like that? Yeah. I watched throughout my childhood. It was kind of awesome, because I used to watch the Corey Macklin Memphis Wrestling whenever it was.
I used to get tapes of that when I used to be in tape trading. I was very familiar with that.
Yeah, Greg Anthony on his YouTube channel, if nobody really knows, he's posted a lot of old Mid-South area matches with him and stuff. People I got to grow up watching. I've got to see Greg Anthony, Derek King, Stan Lee, John Michael, Chris O'Neill, Christian Jacobs, guys like that. But to give you kind of a 2-part answer of guys that stick out to me in our current business, kind of putting Greg Anthony to the side because he's up there. He's probably that number 1 spot right now. But if you're talking about a younger guy, it's either got to fall under Brandon Ray or Thud Powell.
Okay.
Brandon Ray.
What do they got that makes you say that?
Brandon Ray, he's 300 pounds of pure absolute. He's up there. He's 300 pounds, but he moves like a luchador. Literally, if you ever got a chance to watch Brandon wrestle, there's quite a few people on my list of guys that I kind of want him to wrestle with. Like this Friday night in Ripley, Tennessee, he's facing Peyton Ayers. Peyton Ayers is this guy's. He's probably got about 6'6", 6'7", maybe just not around there. Big guy, but it's going to be a hard-hitting match. It's going to be like 2 bulls running into each other. But I've known Brandon Ray for 4 or 5 years since he's come to Pro Wrestling Mid-South. And he's done a lot. Like I said, 2-time former unified heavyweight champion. Great talent. If you need him to high fly, he'll high fly. If you need him to throw somebody across that ring, he'll throw somebody across that ring. Yeah. He's a tough guy. Now, Thud Powell, he's our current unified heavyweight champion, and he was in Pro Wrestling Mid-South, NWA Mid-South when I first started. Now, he's a great talent as well. Same thing with him. If you need him to high fly, he'll high fly. If you need him to throw somebody across that ring, he'll throw somebody across that ring. They're both great talents, and we've seen them cross paths quite a few times with the unified heavyweight champion, because Thud Powell was the one who beat Brandon Ray for the unified heavyweight champion. Brandon Ray's beat Thud Powell for the unified heavyweight championship. We just had our $10,000 Royale Challenge, where you get $10,000 check and a shot at the unified heavyweight championship. And now we get to see that again because Brandon Ray won that match. Now, when that match is going to take place, I have no idea. But Thud Powell, Brandon Ray, I say they are our top talents right now.
Okay. I'll have to keep an eye. Everybody that's listening, keep an eye out because Cody says so. All right? That's talent right there. Let's talk a little bit more about your podcast before we decide to, before we wrap it up. Now, what's the name of it again?
So I've had it used to be Mid-South Wrestling News.
Okay.
In 2016, I started it up shortly after I joined NWA Mid-South. And it was just something I wanted to help all Mid-South area shows help promote their product.
Right.
Whether I post flyers or anything like that. Well, like I said, here recently I was on Buster H.R. Johnson's podcast earlier this year. And after the podcast was done, me and him was talking about it. And I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can start up my own podcast. I said it'll be me with what wrestling knowledge I know. But I said, I also going to have, my out-of-ring experience and mixed with somebody's in-ring experience. So that's where Blaze Ray comes in. Blaze Ray, me and him have known each other for the same amount of time that Brandon Ray and I have known each other because they come in together as a tag team. They were the Ray Boys. They pretty much carried the tag team division of Pro Wrestling Mid-South for 2 years.
Okay.
Before Blaze Ray had to get out of it for a little bit because he was actually born club-footed. His feet were on backwards whenever he was born.
Oh.
So the doctors had to break his ankles and then set his feet back right. And his ankles have just always caused him problems. But he still got out there. He wrestled. He did what he needed to do, stuff like that. But it was just kind of time for him to get his personal health correct. Get that done. But like I said, he's got the in-ring experience. He's got 12, 13 years of in-ring experience. I have my 10, 11 years of out-of-ring experience. I think we're going to set this thing off. Our first episode is huge. It's a double guest episode. It's going to be the Golden Boy Greg Anthony and Downtown Bruno.
I mean, you can't get two better guests than that, really. Downtown Bruno is an absolute legend in the world of professional wrestling. He actually was just at a convention that I worked in Massachusetts just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, he was there, and what a nice guy, man! I got to tell you, I got a chance to say hello to him. Yeah,
love him. I have him on speed dial. I'll call him out of the blue, and hey, I'm sorry, I don't mean to bother you or anything like that. He's like, man, you gotta stop saying you're sorry. He said, we're friends. He said, we're friends. He said, you ain't gotta apologize. He said, you call me anytime you need to. And we'll just sit and have conversations, or I'll text him, wish him happy birthday. I texted him the day that Sid Vicious passed away because, that was, that's who got Bruno pretty much into WWE. He got him the WWE chance, and he managed Sid for a long time.
So tell me about any events that you guys have coming up. Obviously, you have events coming up this weekend because you guys, like I said, regularly run Friday, Saturday, and then with the exception of like the big events. So what do you guys? What's going on? What's on the plate this weekend?
Well, as of right now, for Friday night, we have a huge 6-man tag team elimination match. We also have, like I said, what I just said before. We have Brandon Ray versus Peyton Ayers. The 6-man tag team match has our newly crowned Legends Alliance champion Rob Danger He beat Big Cody Sawyer last Friday night for the Legends Lions Championship. It was kind of not going to say that, it was kind of a thing. Some things kind of got out of hand. He took advantage of it. Yeah, we'll go with that. We also have in that match tagging with Rob Danger is going to be the Uber Destroyer. He's a German-based gimmick. He's been, for the past 2 months, he goes out and he tries to get everybody to stand for the German national anthem.
Oh, boy.
That hasn't went over well for him lately because, we're not doing that. Yeah.
I don't think it would go over well, but yeah.
No, yeah. So far he hasn't gotten through the full national anthem yet. Let's just say that. Then their third man in their team is Chad Austin. It was formerly Mr. Mid-South number 2, and he's kind of had a change of heart. He's come out of the mask. He was tagging with the Yellow Jacket for a long time. He just picked up the Southern Junior Heavyweight Championship from the Yellow Jacket last Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So we got two champions in that match. Now, on the other side of the ring is going to be the man who I've known him for a long time also. It's Game Time James Elliott. He's a former Legends Lions champion. Okay. Next to him is going to be Big Cody Sawyer. That's who Rob Danger beat for the Legends Lions championship. And then we also have the Yellow Jacket, who Chad Austin beat for the Southern Junior Heavyweight Championship. So it's a lot of back and forth there with that. Yeah. It's going to be a great event.
I am familiar with a couple of those guys, like Chad Austin, and I'm familiar with the Yellow Jacket. I've seen him on Herb Simmons' SICW TV before. So
yeah, a few of those guys. Yeah, we also have. Yeah, we also have our Mid-South Tag Team champions, current Mid-South Tag Team champions, the Desirables. They're compacted of a young guy, Logan Hendricks, but then he's got the veteran J.R. Stone, who's his tag team partner. I've known J.R. Stone for a while, working with Pro Wrestling Mid-South. I've known Logan Hendricks for a short bit, and let's just say at the end of the day, they'll do whatever they have to do to keep the Mid-South Tag Team Championships. I don't agree with the way they do things because I don't like cheating, and I always try to do right by the people, and it's just, I got to deal with them because they're the champions.
Yeah. Yep. All right. How can people get in touch with you, Cody?
Facebook. Cody Bowers, Mid-South Wrestling Center Facebook page. We also have YouTube channel, Mid-South Wrestling Center. We have an Instagram, Mid-South Wrestling Center. I personally have an Instagram, but I don't use it. So Facebook is always going to be the best place to reach me.
Okay. All right. Cody, I want to thank you for coming on. I want everybody to go subscribe to the YouTube channel because, you're going to get some really good wrestling content talking about the Mid-South area. And because there's a lot of quality wrestling down there. So it's, I want everybody to go down there. Cody, I want to say thank you for joining me.
Appreciate you. Thank you.